If you're a dirty capitalist, clap your hands. Alright, calm down there, Hudson Bay Company. I get it. You're literally a capitalist utopia. Oh, what's that? You want to make a capitalist paradise out of Canada? Well, that's perfect, because honestly, I felt like it's been a while since we played Toll and Victoria 3, and clearly, starting as the ultimate capitalist nation here is the right choice. We might have a lot of land at the start of the campaign, but we have 250,000 people, which is really just about nothing. Our entire nation consists of 5 logging camps and 2 barracks to keep the loggers in check, and that's it. Nothing else. We got literally no buildings here, so we really are starting from 0, but we have an ace up our sleeve because, guys, making this capitalist utopia has been sponsored by Raid Shadow Great Britain. That's right, we're a part of the British market, as we are a chartered company. Again, this is a new type of subject with the 1.8 update. A chartered company essentially is a, let's say, more independent, if you can even call it that, type of colony. The next level above chartered company is quite literally just demanding independence. So it's a little bit easier in this particular patch to get that independence, but we're not going to go for that just yet. We're going to turn this nation first into an economic hegemon with the massive capitalist support that we start with. We have 63% clout for the industrialists. This nation basically is what you want to see most of your nations become in the mid to late game, an industrialist powerhouse. They start as one. Not only that, but we also start with interventionism, homesteading, and just a lot of other amazing legislation. We also can easily go for free trade. We can easily switch over to laissez-faire. We can get a school system and so on. It's honestly probably one of the easiest starts in the game when it comes to legislation. That, of course, is not the whole story because, as you know, we only have 5 logging camps. So it's going to take a little bit of a min-maxing this particular run if we are to unify Canada, become independent, and just become a capitalist utopia where we outshine the United States. That's right, they start with 15 million GDP, 15 million pops. We start with nothing, and we're gonna literally outscale them in the first 20 years or so. First off, let's go to our laws here. We're gonna go for public schools. We want to have an educated country from day one. Technology-wise, we're gonna go for nationalism so we can start unifying with the rest of the Canadian nations. We have all the tier 1 tech researched already from day one, so what we can do to boost ourselves up even more is go for atmospheric engine, water tube boilers, mechanical tools, and so on to properly industrialize as we progress. Since we are a part of the British market, we have some insane opportunities for early on income. Basically, whatever there's a massive shortage of in our market, we can just spam those particular buildings and make quite a bit of bucks out of it. But considering that we literally have no actual buildings from day one, I'm going to start my construction queue with some wheat farms because it's only 200 construction to get these done, and we just need a lot of wheat in our market right now. I'm going to get a few of these in each province essentially. There's 4,000 shortage of wheat, so that's a pretty big deal unfortunately for us. We can do some trade routes actually with Qing to get a little bit of wheat from these nations, plus we can do some groceries from the Russians and whatever else is in high demand. We can establish more routes for that. You have to remember that your first 5 routes do not cost any bureaucracy. Also, construction queue wise, we're gonna queue up some logging camps. We also start with consumption tax on grain. We're gonna remove that, and that means we start with 676 authority, which is not bad. We're gonna add a consumption tax on opium, and that's it, nothing else. And we're gonna use all of our authority as degrees. We're gonna get greener grass campaign in pretty much all of our state. This is as a means of encouraging migration into our land, since greener grass campaign gives 20 attraction flat and 25% as well attraction. And we're also going to be using the road maintenance wherever we're building things. We will be switching the road maintenance edict around as our construction queue goes from province to province. We're not really getting too much money as it is, so going for very low taxation from the beginning will lower the radicals from political movement, increase our legitimacy, but more importantly, it's going to make our people a little bit wealthier, increase our standard competitive living, and as such encourage people to migrate to our lands even more. Now, very important also, we got to improve relations with all of our Canadian friends here because we want to eventually confederate with them. The way you do that is you need to have relations with both the Canadian nations as well as with the British Empire, but that's a little bit of finicky thing, so keep close eye and what I'm going to be doing next because it is very, very vital, guys. It's very crucial that we keep our liberty desire around this particular line here between rebellious and not so rebellious, because if we are rebellious, we get radicals from political movements in our country, so it actually affects us negatively. We don't want to be on a high liberty desire. We want to keep it towards the upper part of the moderate. So what we can do is we can request some interactions here that the British will deny us, but it will increase our liberty desire. Fortunately, it's also going to increase our bad relations with the Brits, so we do have to improve with them after this since we need high relations to confederate Canada. It has to be 50 relations with the British, nationalism research, as well as we need to have at least amicable relations with one of the other Canadian nations around us. I can do knowledge sharing as well. We should be fine after that. We can do market control. We obviously don't actually want this, but we'll do this later, not just yet. It's gonna take a while until we research nationalism anyway, so I'm fairly confident that we'll be fine, especially since having low relations with the Brits means the British will be encouraged to increase relations with us too. So two of us working towards having better relations with each other is gonna be really beneficial for our campaign. I actually want to test if we can get a construction sector done. Let's go with Ontario for our first construction sector. I just realized Manitoba is our capital, but we got like no infrastructure there, so I'm gonna stop building anything in Manitoba and focus primarily on Ontario for now. I also believe 2 wheat farms is enough. We're gonna do the logging camps, and when that's done, we're gonna start spamming some iron mines in the Hudson Bay, Quebec. Hey, look at that, we got public schools. That was actually super fast, and we can probably go for level 2 investment here if we get one government administration building. Say we can get that also in Ontario, of course. Let's go back to laws. Next, I'm gonna go for free trade so I can start properly establishing a few extra trade routes. The speed at which we're getting these laws passed is just ridiculous. I also like to get my independence path ready early on, so I'm gonna see who rivals the British. Right now, that's only the Russians, so I'm gonna improve relations with them so they can support my independence. I'm gonna keep an eye on this whenever the French, which is likely to happen, do it too. I'm gonna improve with them as well, of course. I'm also gonna do a bit of a change here. I decided to go for egalitarianism, which is gonna give me proportional taxation available. I'm doing that because I'll be passing laissez-faire next, and apparently we also have a little bit of an opposition for laissez-faire, so I really need to pass laissez-faire next because laissez-faire works hand in hand with proportional taxation since it starts taxing dividends. So all those private companies are going to be paying us a dividends tax, which is something that the per capita taxation does not do. So if you have the option of going laissez-faire early, always pair that up with proportional taxation rather than falling for the trick of going for per capita, because if you do go per capita, it's going to be a lot more difficult to switch to proportional taxation as the same interest groups support both of these laws, and if you have one of these laws, they're not going to be as willing to support the change to the other one. I really could not have timed this better. We got laissez-faire and egalitarianism at the same time, so now we can switch over to proportional taxation straight, and because we got laissez-faire, all of our buildings will start getting privatized, which means that we're going to have some insane gold reserves in a few moments. And we also managed to get 50 relations with the British again, so we can confederate Canada. Now we're gonna have to do this every couple of years. When the Canadian unifier modifier goes away in 31 months, we can again press the same button here and merge with one of the other Canadian nations and keep on doing that until we've essentially gotten everybody. Now take note, we have these areas here as incorporated states, but we have other parts of our country that we start with that are not yet incorporated. I'm talking about Northern Territory, Nunavut, and Yukon. I'm not going to incorporate them just yet. The reason for that is because unincorporated territories get 50% more migration attraction from the frontier colonization legislation that we currently have. So I'm taking advantage of the fact that these are unincorporated to get more pops arrive in these lands. We got the first mass migration of South Germans apparently. We have a few options here with the new mechanics. We essentially can be a little bit more casino-phobic, or we can be a lot more accepting. This will increase the acceptance of the South German pops by 20, but it's going to make our primary culture a little bit more radical. So we could go for the middle option, which would give us plus 5 acceptance of South German pop. You know what? I'm gonna go for the radicals. I don't care. So I just realized my bar disappeared there for a few seconds. What happened? Did I click by mistake unlock? I think I did. Maybe I can just attack the Mexicans and take California from them, right? I mean, California is a pretty important state. It is gonna have a lot of gold mines. It already has a lot of resources, and it would mean we basically get the entirety of the west coast of the United States. So we kind of cook them a little bit. I'm totally not against that, to be fair. The only issue with this plan is that the Russians are actually supporting Mexico, but we have the British and the Americans. We set quite a few war goals, so we're essentially going to grab 4 states and war reparations if we win the war. And we also made the Americans join us by promising to return Texas. So it's going to be a pretty, I'd say, easy piece of cake sort of engagement, in my opinion, since we have 2 of the greatest empires at the start of the campaign on our side. And I'm sure the Russians are not going to support the Mexicans as much as you would imagine they would, right? All right, let's go, baby. If did I just see that? Hold on a second. So if we lose, what happens is we have to give them Colorado. So it's actually the Americans that would lose if we lose the war. So we literally cannot lose the war. Look at our brave troops get all those war goals. I am so glad that we are on the winning side. It's, you know, it's really nice that the winners always write the history books, because in my books, the Mexicans were the ones that attacked first, okay? I totally didn't just decide I want to grab half of their country for no reason whatsoever. No, they insulted me, in fact. I saw them put vinegar in my tacos. I saw them. I freaking saw them. This cannot continue. I'm sorry, but the reign of terror of the Mexican Empire has to end right now. Honestly, it's a good thing that this war is quick, because I'm losing 7,000 ducats. Oh, it's because we're on very low taxation. Okay, fine. I guess we can go medium taxation. Still, I'm losing a lot of money, and I cannot sustain this for too long. All right, there you go. We got the war goal, boys. We have basically the entirety of the West Coast, the United States. Us getting this means the Americans are not going to develop themselves to the full potential that they would otherwise, and more importantly, we can get a ton of migrants and develop the state of California to a level which will make us ridiculously rich. This is what I like to call Gold Minefornia. That's the actual name of the state from now on. Another confederation. This time we've annexed Lower Canada, Upper Canada, so we now have the entirety of the Ontario state, which is a shocking 1.3 million GDP and 1.3 million population. So that's actually pretty awesome. Let's go ahead and make sure we get all the latest production methods, obviously, and we're gonna need to do water to boilers because we don't have that many population, which is why these kind of production methods are really useful for us. Don't forget to keep on trying to increase your liberty desire whilst you're in between confederation sessions. Basically, do all these interactions now, increase the liberty desire a little bit, and then we just have to wait for the improved relations to happen. That's going to take roughly the 31 months until the Canadian unifier modifier goes away. I was not expecting this, but we are starting to get starvation in our provinces because our market is just so massive. It really just needs a lot of food. So I queued up a few wheat farms, but I think I'm going to bring them up at the top of the queue. We really need food in our provinces. After this government administration is done, we'll have a couple of them, especially in the provinces where we have the beginning of starvation. We have mild starvation. Fingers crossed we got Lower Canada now. We did. So we just need to get Brunswick and Nova Scotia, and that's it. Then we can start decreasing our relations with the British Empire. Our economic dependence on them has also lowered. It started at 0.25 on the minus for us. Now it's 0.14, and that's honestly the main one which prevents us from increasing our liberty desire, meaning that eventually once we get at least one of each buildings and we are pretty much self-sufficient, we don't need to rely on the British goods for our economy, well then we're gonna start getting liberty desire, and it's gonna be a lot easier to control our relations with our overlords. We also can now establish our first mining company. That's gonna be the Ontario-based Hudson Bay Mineral Guild. This will affect the coal mines and the sulfur mines, and with this patch, the companies actually own buildings and they build their own buildings in the state where they're based. So Ontario will see the Hudson Bay Company, which also has its own headquarters as a separate building. This company will develop this state for us. So I honestly love the way that companies work in this patch. I still have slots for 2 more. I just don't have the prerequisites for these because it's a little bit more difficult now to actually get the prerequisites to be able to establish companies. We actually took loans. So we have 500 in credit now because we had to nationalize certain buildings in order to establish this mining company. Also, the biggest expense we have is the diplomatic pact with the British. We are paying them 22,000 monthly, which is ridiculous. It's because we are a charter company, so charter companies pay 40% of their treasury to the overlord every week. I would like to see my independence at some point so I don't have to pay them that much money, because if we didn't pay that much money, we would be so much better off right now. This second war against Mexico is 100% being carried by the Americans, which are honestly very, very strong. I did not even call in the British because look at this, man. They already managed to get 200,000 units. I mean, 200 battalions and growing by the second. It's ridiculous how powerful the Americans are. I kind of feel like I might not even be able to take the Americans on, just me and the British against them. I don't know. I feel like maybe I should go and change my plans and not attack them anymore and just focus on the Mexicans. Maybe even go into the south here, take Mexico City and grow a little bit bigger before I actually attack the Americans, because they're scary, man. They're actually very scary. I mean, sure, they don't have the West, but it feels like they don't need the West. The East Coast, or better yet, the New England area is just ridiculously overpowered from day one. We can also go for National Guard as our next legislation. This will give us 71 battalions that we can mobilize at tier 1 for that particular institution, so it's not too bad. And there you go, another few provinces. This probably will piss off the Americans because this is literally all the provinces they have a massive interest in taking. Oh, you know what I can also do? I can start expanding into South Africa. We only have 10 infamy, so going into Gaza honestly is a no-brainer. We have some ships, we can do it. Plus, that means we also can attack Transvaal afterwards, Orange, and we already have... Oh, wait! Transvaal has a company in Transvaal. That is so cool. That is actually so cool. Do they start with that? You know what? I was actually thinking I don't mind starting a Transvaal or an Orange campaign in 1.8 since there has been a little bit of flavor for this part of the world. Like, for example, the company, and apparently they also get 9 gold mines already in Transvaal, as well as 6 and 4 over in Orange. So it's just absolutely insane to see that. We can call these guys the first Canadian seamen in honor of the famous Canadian Seaman Force. Just totally a thing, by the way. Let's check society. I'm actually curious to see how many pops we have, our primary culture. So right now we've got English. We have 1 million Englishmen. That is crazy to me that our primary pops is actually not even our primary pop. The highest amount of pops is not even our primary, but eventually they will get assimilated to Anglo-Canadians. Slowly but surely. We started with like 30,000 Anglo-Canadians and now we have 500,000, which is a definite improvement. So aside from the Anglo-Canadians and the Englishmen, Yankees, Australians, and basically Anglophone people, which are full citizens, most of the other immigrants are second-class citizens with 50 acceptance, basically all of the European heritage ones. And then we also have the third parties, which is the least accepted ones from the other parts of the English Empire. From the Indian parts, we have a lot of Rajputs, Bundeli, Gujaratis, and we also have some of the Native Americans, which are on par with the Indians from Asia. They don't really have much of an acceptance. All right, let's do this quick naval invasion. Then we're going to station our troops in Gaza after we take it so we can use that as a launching platform towards the rest of the South African state. There you go. That's done. And we can also do another confederation with the New Brunswick now. We just need one last, the Nova Scotian parts, which is actually not too bad. 600,000 GDP, 200,000 pops, and they have quite a few basic industry buildings that we would actually love to get a hold of. Now, hold on just a second here, Skibbity, because I saw something. I saw that Orange would like to join on the side of, there you go, they did. Oman and Orange. That is a weird combination. I am, of course, going to take Vrystaat and Northern Cape from Orange, because apparently they started colonizing this one province here. So that is going to be our way into colonizing Africa as well. Oh, yes, babe. We got National Guard, so we can get 78 battalions. That's going to come in actual handy when we attack the Americans, because we still plan on What? No. The British, my dear overlord, can give the Americans these lands without me agreeing to it. I'm not saying I'm pissed, but I'm a little bit pissed about that. I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty mad about the Americans taking literally half of the best lands I had, but I'm gonna make up for it by just exploiting the shit out of South Africa and then using that money from exploiting them to murder the Americans, basically. Yep, that's right. I'm gonna take everything they got. I'm gonna take every single province they got. We're gonna become the Americans. All right, boys, we're gonna become them. Oh, the British have confederated us. Okay, that actually is not so bad, because as a confederation and not a chartered company, we pay less of our income to the Brits. We were paying 30,000 before of our income to the Brits. Now we're paying only 19,800,000 to the Brits, which is a lot less. That's because Dominions only pay 25% of their treasury, whilst chartered companies pay 40% of their treasury to the British. All right, we can do the last confederation here. God save the Queen, because we just annexed Nova Scotia by going to Journal Nation Formation, the Nation of Canada. Bing, bing, bong, bong. A glorious nation indeed. We get a claim on Newfoundland. Whoa, they just found that? Is that why it's new? Haha. That's a bad joke. That's we're gonna edit that out. I do like the new flag actually that they got. That's pretty freaking cool. Hey, we also have public health insurance. That's amazing. That does mean we have a massive shortage of bureaucracy now, and we need a lot more. It's only 49 per level of institution, so if we just spam a few admin buildings, we actually wouldn't be too bad off. But we do need not only admin buildings, we also need a lot of universities, since we haven't really been building universities much. I'm sorry. Is the United States a banana republic led by a dictator? That is genuinely the most American thing I've seen in a while. So they're an autocratic presidential republic, apparently. Our country is the literal definition of a melting pot. Look at this. We've got a little bit of Franco-Canadians, then we got mostly English, the highest amount of population in our country. We got Gujaratis, Crees, Bundelis. I don't even know where the hell Bundelis originate from. Inus, Athabascans, Rajputs as well, which unfortunately now are part of the American gang because they seceded. Scots in California, the primary culture, followed by Hokan. It is just a melting pot, an actual freaking melting pot. All right, boys, it's time for the Great American War. The way that we're gonna handle this is we've added a lot of war goals. Basically, whatever state was cheaper for us to take, we added it, and we still have 10 maneuvers, so we're gonna be calling in our overlord, the British Empire. They're gonna be taking lead of the war, but we already have all of the war goals, so they cannot add anything else. We're just taking everything for ourselves. We're gonna add, of course, our units to defend the front line, both in the north and in the south, until our British overlords arrive, and then we start pushing in, since we also need to wait for the conscripts to finish recruiting. Hey, would you look at that? We got colonial exploitation, so we can start colonizing outside of whatever we border, meaning we should probably start with the Zululand, Northern Cape, and Zambezia, since we already have parts of these areas, and we will be able to colonize the Pacific Islands once we've researched quinine. I'm not saying that I'm using the British to win this for me, but that's exactly what I'm doing right now. If it wasn't for the British, I would have zero chances of taking any American lands. They got like ridiculous amounts of conscripts, my dude. Look at that. We got 50 advantage right now in the northern front. We're barely hanging in the southern front, but it's okay. As long as we can just defend our lands, that's all that we need. We don't really need to do much in the southern bits. We're basically trying to split their army in half and push wherever their army is weaker. Here we go, baby. There we go. Keep on pushing. I think once we take the war goal of Idaho, it's basically just GG's for them. Oh my god, this is the most beautiful thing I've seen ever. Look how much land we took from the Americans. That is actually insane, dude. Let's also go ahead and increase our liberty desire a little bit by just requesting a lot of stuff that the British obviously are not going to deliver. Hell, we want market control. Do we really want market control? Hell no, we would be kaput if we had market control right now, which makes me realize I don't think I actually want to be independent just yet. I think I'm going to just squeeze a little bit more out of the British market. 12 gold mines already in California, and likely more of these to come. Only 7 more years to make it a full integral part of our society. We have started incorporating most of these states, but for some of them it takes a long freaking ass time. 20 years for Wyoming, for example. And check it out, guys. We got a brand new government. We have a coalition of trade unions. Let me put this into perspective. The trade unions have 16% clout. That means that we have a significant chance of passing restricted restricted child. Now for the second war, it is considerably easier since we have a lot more units now. We went overdrive with our recruitment, and we're going to be taking Texas from the Americans, as well as of course the other states we were supposed to take a while back. I also wanted to revoke the claim that the Americans have in Alaska so I can actually colonize this area, because right now I'm not allowed to colonize because they have a claim, but it is 25 maneuver to revoke a claim, which brings the question, if anyone from Paradox is watching this, can you make it remove claims or revoke claims, make it like 10 maneuvers, not 25? It's a little bit excessive. Oh, nice. We managed to get a secondary front here. That took significantly longer than I expected it to take, but look at our new and improved borders. We are in essence most of North America now. The most important bit was to just cut them down to size so they don't outscale us. Oh, I know how I'm gonna get my independence. I'm gonna attack Portugal, and they're gonna accept my demands. The British would have joined on the Portuguese side. Now I gotta wait for 5 years truce with the Portuguese again. At least I could have taken Zambezia if they're gonna accept like that. Come on, game. Oh, check this out, guys. We got the last spike, which is the building of the Canadian Pacific Railway. We can get 200% migration attraction. Okay, we're also gonna request independence from the French and accept their embassy from their power block. In this particular patch, what happens is if you have a support independence from a country, it actually increases your liberty desire by 0.05. So if we get 2 more nations to support our independence, we're going to be in a much better spot actually. Let's go ahead and increase our liberty desire by requesting stuff that we know they're not going to give us. You guys notice how the American state of Oklahoma looks like somebody's doing he went that away inside of our country. Now I'm not saying that the British are freaking really aggressive in this patch, but they do have a tendency of taking a lot of schnapps that's not theirs. So I guess that's historical AI? Holy mother of God, I just noticed. Check it out, guys. Greece took a big chunk out of Ottomans, and they also are a puppet of the Russians, which is not very unusual. Oh, and now not only do we have Englishmen as more pops than our primary, but also Yankees, we've got more than our primary. Yeah, okay. Now, before we break away, I'm also going to be using the British one last time. This time it's going to be against their old allies, the Portuguese, so I can essentially grab all the Portuguese colonies in Africa, and I'm gonna let the British do most of that heavy lifting. Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I hope you guys enjoyed this run. If you did, don't forget to leave a like, and don't forget to also use my link in description if you like to get any Paradox game. Until the next time, be safe. I have to cut it off a little bit short because I had a patch. I'm obviously recording this in early access, and the patch ruined the save game, so I literally cannot continue. It just continuously crashes because it's not compatible anymore, unfortunately. Love you all, and I'll see you in the next one.